Hey everyone, I'm Casey with CReeves Makes, and today I'm going to show you how I made these cedar planter boxes using only my Kreg adaptive cutting system. I've had the ACS for well over a year now, and I've used it on a lot of projects, but one thing I haven't really done with it yet is cut bevels or angles. So I decided that this would be the perfect project to test it out on. So I chose to make boxes with a 10-degree taper on all four sides. I also wanted to use mitered corners. I know that I could have just done a simple butt joint or even a rabbet joint on the corners, but the miters would be a good learning experience. I used a compound angle calculator that I found online, and you simply put in the number of corners and the angle of your taper, and it will give you the miter angle that you will need for your corners. In this case, my angle was 44 degrees. So I set the saw to cut a 44-degree bevel and set the miter guide to 10 degrees on the table. After I made a cut, I used a tape measure and a speed square to lay out the next cut and the 10-degree angles so that I could reference my marks to the saw track as I set up the next cut. Then it was just rinse and repeat. To cut the opposite angles, I removed the miter guide and used my layout lines. I could have used a complementary spacer at 20 degrees to offset this cut, but I wanted to test my marks as well as the reliability of the ACS track and saw without a hard stop setup. After all the pieces were cut, I did a dry fit test using blue painter's tape to nest all of the corners and hold the miters together. Then I could measure the bottom opening and get ready to make the bottom of the box. For the bottom, I set the saw to cut a 10-degree bevel and then added 1/4 of an inch to the overall size of my measurements. This would allow the bottom to nest perfectly into the 10-degree tapered box. Once everything was cut and dry fit, it was time to glue it all up. I used Titebond 3 for this as it is a waterproof glue and should hold up well in the elements. I usually tape the inside corners of my miter joints, but I wanted these corners to be loaded with glue. Again, with this being a planter, the extra glue won't hurt. After the glue had dried, I removed my tape and inspected the miter joints. There were some small gaps here and there, so I used a trick that I saw here on YouTube a while ago. Basically, tape off the joint on both sides, work some glue into the cracks with your finger, and then sand the joint. The sawdust will mix with the glue and fill in any cracks or crevices. Sanding it while you go will work the paste into the cracks and smooth it all out. The tape on the sides keeps the wood safe from perpendicular sanding marks. Next was prep sanding all of the surfaces. I just started at 80 grit and moved up to 120. I wanted some character in these boxes, so I just let the paper work and remove whatever it wanted to. After sanding, I applied a coat of Spar urethane and let it soak in. After it dried, I realized that I forgot to drill my drain holes, so I added 3 1-inch holes spaced evenly across the bottom. I also chose to add a 1/4 inch roundover to all of the holes. This may not serve any purpose other than it made it easier to go back and work finish into the raw end grain of those holes. Between coats, I used a super fine finish sanding pad to knock back each coat. Well, the planters are done. Let me know what you thought of this project, as I will be curious to see how these age over time in the outdoor elements. It was nice to have a project that I could basically do with one system. The Kreg ACS is a versatile platform that can take the place of a lot of large tools or fill in that DIY need if you have a smaller space. I'd like to thank Kreg Tool for sponsoring this video and for giving me the opportunity to work with the ACS. It's been a lot of fun putting it to work in my shop. If you liked this video, please subscribe and stay tuned for more. I'm Casey with CReeves Makes, and thanks for watching.